Hello Uplanders, I'm YK2012, founder of the Upland Guide, and today I'm going to be talking about a strategy which is called raising the floor. I'm going to explain what exactly that is and some things that you should take into consideration if you choose to adopt this strategy when playing Up. The strategy of raising the floor refers to purchasing the cheapest property in either a city, a neighborhood, a street, a collection, whatever that might happen to be. I can go on this button here in order to see the properties that are nearby and what their prices are. By properties nearby, that means any property that's in this window based on the zoom that I have done. So here I am zoomed out on all of Los Angeles, and therefore we are able to see here the cheapest price for properties in Los Angeles. So in terms of US dollars, the cheapest property is $7.24. And if we scroll down, we are able to bypass the properties that are sold for dollars and see the floor price for UPEX. And that is actually around 8,500 UPEX. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy between the US dollar listing prices and the UPEX listing prices. And that I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this video. But as a definition of what is raising the floor, it's essentially buying the cheapest property in the hopes that the floor or the cheapest price will start going up. You can also see here, this is the website upexland.me, and you can see property listings here as well. I've filtered according to Los Angeles and properties that are for sale for UPEX only, and we can also see here that the cheapest sales price is 8,500 UPEX. The raising the floor strategy refers to purchasing the cheapest property today in the hopes that in the future the price of that property will increase. If we take a look at the macro of virtual land, and I'm not just referring to virtual land in Upland, but in the entire industry, there is a lot of speculation that the prices of these lands will increase over time. There are many of us who are playing Upland and other games who are early adopters in these types of spaces, and the idea is that we will be able to benefit in the long run. As players can see, had you joined Upland over a year ago, you may have been able to mint some properties in Manhattan for only a few thousand UPEX. And today you can see that the floor price in Manhattan is around $160. So you could have purchased something a year ago for 3,000 or 4,000 UPEX, and today you'd be able to sell that for over $160. And that's an amazing return on your investment. So people are hoping that if today I purchase the cheapest property in a specific city or area or collection, that further down the line, I will be able to sell that for more money. The idea is that if you had minted a Manhattan property for 4,000 UPEX and waited a month, you might have been able to sell that for 10,000 UPEX or 50,000 UPEX. And if you had waited until now, you would have been able to get over $150 on that. So this is definitely a factor of how long you're willing to wait in order to resell that property for a profit. In general, and this is not just in Upland, in the real world as well, if you are able to find something that is underpriced and you are able to purchase it and sell it for the actual market value or even more than the market value, that's an excellent way to be making money. The big question is are you finding properties that are actually undervalued? Now I'm going to jump in and detail some of these points that are listed here as things that you need to consider. The first is the purchasing and sales fees. If you're going to purchase a property from somebody else, you are going to be paying a 5% fee. And if you sell a property, you are also going to be paying a 5% fee. This fee goes back into the community pool, which is used to pay out other things like dividends and other things to the community. So here, if I wanted to purchase this property here, we can see that he's selling it for $8,500. but I would be paying 8,925 UPEX for this property, and that's the additional 5% that I would be paying. The seller of this property would be receiving 5% less than the 8,500 UPEX. Before I purchase this property, I want to think, how much do I need to sell it for in order for me to get my money back? 10% on top of 8,500 is going to be 9,350 UPEX. So if I purchase this property today and I want to make money on it, the minimum that I want to be selling it for is 9,350 UPEX. Now, if I want to hold on to this property for a very long period of time, then maybe in the long term, the price will definitely reach that value. The question is, how long do you want to hold on to that? If you are hoping to sell this immediately or within a week or within a month, if I'm just going to purchase this in order to make a quick buck and hopefully sell it very quickly, the question then becomes, how confident am I that the price is going to raise to 9,350 UPEX in the period of time that I want to sell it, and this is just for me to break even. If I want to be making a profit on this, then I want it to be more than 9,350 UPEX. So this is the very first thing that you absolutely need to be aware of when you're purchasing properties on the secondary market. The second thing to consider when purchasing a property on the secondary market is, are there any neighboring unminted properties? If you're able to get an unminted property, you won't be paying these 5% fees that I had discussed in the previous one. That already provides you with a better deal compared to purchasing on the secondary market. The question is are there any properties nearby, and are they priced in your price range? Here I have found another property here which is listed at the floor price of 8,500 UPEX. And we can see here that there are several properties neighboring it that are still unminted, including non-FSA properties. So if I wanted to buy this property, I would be paying 8,925 UPEX after the 5% fee. And we can see that this size is 55 up squared. Now if I go ahead and take a look at this one is 70 up squared, and it's only priced at 8,610 UPEX. So this is a much better deal already. I can go ahead and mint this property, not have to pay the fees, and I'd still be making a better earning on this. It's not even an FSA property. Here's another one which is even smaller in size and cheaper. The FSA one, if you're a newer player starting out, this is even a better deal than the other one. So if I'm just going ahead and searching for what's the cheapest property in the city, I might find that there are better deals right next door that are just unminted. So unless you have a specific affinity to this exact property, maybe because you lived there as a child, or maybe there's a really special street view here, but if you're just looking for a cheaper property, there are plenty here in the vicinity. Half the neighborhood is completely unminted. So this is something that you definitely want to take a look at. If you're just looking for cheap properties, you might be able to find things unminted, especially here in Los Angeles, where I don't think that this city is ever going to be minted out. And I have an entire video that I discuss this in the upper right hand corner if you want to take a look at that. But there are lots of properties here, and you don't necessarily have to purchase properties on the secondary market if you're looking for good deals. The next thing to take into consideration is the difference between the floor price when a property is listed for UPEX or for US dollars. As I discussed, at this point in time, the cheapest property for UPEX is 8,500 UPEX. And here we can see the cheapest for US dollars is $7.24. So there is a strategy where if you are comfortable putting more dollars into the game and not just UPEX, you might be able you might say to yourself, hey, if I buy this for $7.24 and I were able to sell it for 8,500 UPIX immediately, I might be able to get more UPIX out of this. So I can go ahead and do that math really quickly. I can take $7.24 and multiply that by 1,000, which is the conversion rate between this dollars to UPIX to get 7,240 I could take now I would have to pay a 5% buying fee on that, and if I want to sell that immediately, I'm going to also pay another 5% selling fee. So that's a total of 10%. Floor price and I can take that 7,240 and multiply that by 10% potentially 7,964. Make a very quick profit in terms of UPIX if you're willing to put more dollars into the game. Now again, this is on an assumption that you will be able to do that. There is no guarantee that by the time you purchase the property that the UPIX floor price will be the same. Maybe someone might list another property and put it less than 8,500 UPIX. So that might be cutting into this. But this clearly has to be part of the risk that you consider when adopting this strategy. The next two things to consider are any short-term price dips as well as opportunity costs lost. Now I'm going to talk about these two together. If you had minted a property in Manhattan, again for 3,000 or 4,000 UPIX, and we look at it 1 year down the line, it is very clear that all of those properties have increased incredibly in their prices. That doesn't mean that if we look at it on a shorter time scale, let's say on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, that the prices were always going up. I'm sure that there were times where prices went down a little bit and then back up and down and up and down, and it fluctuated over time. But over the long period of time, the prices did in fact increase. The question is, how long are you going to be holding on to this for in order to ensure that you maximize your profit? And if I purchase that property that we just saw for 8,500 UPIX, what am I going to be missing out on? If I needed that 8,500 UPIX, that was the last money that I had in my account, it might be better off used somewhere else. Let's say that there is a new city that is going to be opened up just in a few days or in a week. If I just purchase that property, I might not have that extra 8,500 UPIX in order to mint a different property in this new city. Now the properties that are currently available in Los Angeles, if I'm looking for the cheapest property, who knows exactly how good it is, what neighborhood it's in, if there are properties around it that are still unminted. So there's a big question mark there. But with that 8,500 UPIX in a new city, there are much better opportunities when I'm able to participate in a new city release. So by purchasing that property for 8,500 UPIX, I'm missing out on potentially much better deals in a new city. And that is what the concept of opportunity costs are. If there is going to be an announcement with a new city which is going to be opened, that typically brings a drop in prices all across the board with an uplift during this short period of time. As people are realizing, hey, if there's a new city, I might want to be able to sell some of my properties in order to have better opportunities in this new city. So if the floor price now is 8,500 UPIX, and I had minted a property during the city release at 3,000 UPIX, I'd go and say, oh, this is a great opportunity. I can now make approximately 5,000 UPIX profit, get another 8,500 UPIX back into my account, and I can better use that in the next city. And if there are many people who are thinking that exact same way that I'm thinking, then there are going to be an abundance of properties that are going to be listed at 8,500 UPIX. But if everyone's going to be listing their property at 8,500 UPIX, and I want mine to sell, then I might list mine for 8,499 UPIX. And someone might undercut me by another UPIX. And that is how the floor price will continue to drop. So if I were to buy a property today for 8,500 UPIX, and tomorrow Upland will announce a new city to be released later on next week, then people are going to start listing their prices for just a little bit less than 8,500 UPIX, and that price is going to drop down lower. Now, if I also wanted that money, then I'm either stuck with that property because I'm not willing to sell it for a loss, or I might regret my decision and still try and sell that property, take a loss on it just in order to recover some of that UPIX, so that I can go and use that and have better opportunities in the next city. So if you are purchasing the cheapest property in the city with the goal of selling it for a profit, you definitely have to think of what your strategy is and how long you are willing to hold that property for. If you don't have a lot of UPIX in your account, I personally think that it's very risky to be using this strategy. On the other hand, if you have no problem putting in either more money into the game, or you have other properties that you are willing to sell in order to get that money back. But if you have a small account and you have a few number of properties, and you're buying and selling on a daily or weekly basis, hoping that the prices will rise up, you have to take into account these other things that can cause the prices to fall down again. And that brings me to the last point here about the strategy of raising the floor. This is a good strategy, again, if you're thinking long-term, but the question is, what is your long-term strategy in Upland? What do you plan on accomplishing in the metaverse? There is absolutely the opportunity to be making money buying and selling properties. There are also lots of other things that you can do in the metaverse. The question is how does all this fit in with what you are trying to accomplish? There are people who don't have time to play, and they will buy some properties and just sit on it for a year or 2 years, and they'll say, even if it's 8,500 UPIX today, in 2 years, I'm 100% positive, and nothing's 100%, but some people will say I'm 100% positive that the price will increase, and I will be able to sell it and make a profit. There are other people who are very active and play on a daily basis, and the question is how does this factor into your strategy? What else do you want to accomplish? And I have a link in the description below that if you haven't formulated your own strategy in Upland yet, there are some basic strategies that you can look into or adopt or combine when being a player in the Upland Metaverse. I personally believe that everyone's strategy is different. Everyone has different wants. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different amounts of time that they can allocate to playing this game and being active in the metaverse, and everyone absolutely has their own budget that they are willing to invest in this game. Some people aren't willing to invest anything and they're trying to play for free, and there are other people who have no problem putting in hundreds if not thousands of dollars into this game. And those two different types of players will absolutely be playing a different type of game. They will have different strategies. It's very important for everyone to set their own long-term goals and ask yourself every day, how is what I'm doing today in Upland going to help me reach my long-term goal? And if what you're doing today is not pointing you in that direction, then maybe it's not something you necessarily want to do. The other thing is you might want to change your goals. There's no problem with that at all, in my opinion. The game develops, there are more things that are being implemented into the game, whether it be legits or in the future cars or meta-ventures. So if there's something new, there's no reason that you shouldn't change your strategy as well. The problem that I find is that if people don't even have a strategy to start with, then they are most likely to be susceptible to making mistakes, because they will do something and then further down the line they will realize that they regretted doing the thing that they previously did. If you need assistance in goal setting or helping to determine one of your long-term strategies, you can reach out to me, and I am open to holding personal consultation sessions. I hope this video was informative and helped you. Please give this video a like, leave us any questions or comments below, and please don't forget to subscribe.